So today I want to have a real conversation with you. The kind I wish someone had with me years ago when I was sitting in the middle of what looked like success, but didn't feel like it. I want to talk about what happens when you're already at capacity and are still expected to keep going, growing, and holding it all. Now, if you're in a season where you feel maxed out, but your business needs you to scale, and you want to scale, you're an ambitious woman who has dreams and big goals, then this episode is for you. I want to take you back to the moment everything cracked open for me, of what I had to let go of, and the powerful rebuild that followed. And I'm going to walk you through the framework that now anchors my business and the businesses of so many incredible women that I have the honor of working with. Now, we're going to talk about scaling, but not in the way that you're usually taught. We are going to talk about scaling smarter and not harder. Now, this is a model that is developed specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to scale past six figures, who have dreams of reaching multi-six figures, 500,000, $1 million. So let's rewind about 10 years. I had 3 little boys, often under my feet. They're not so small anymore, and one is leaving home very soon. And I was building my business often after midnight, working very long hours, and I was doing everything. I was wearing every hat, holding all the tabs open in my brain, all the emotions in my body, and all the tasks in my calendar. That year, I think it was year 2, maybe 3 of my business. I had started this business after leaving corporate. I hit $250,000 in revenue. I was elated. And from the outside, it looked like everything was working. But what nobody saw was the weight I was carrying. Then one day, I remember opening this email from my sister on my phone as I was working. It was emotional. She told me how much she had missed me, how I wasn't responding to her calls or her messages, and how much it hurt that I was never really there. And whilst we lived oceans apart, I literally wasn't there anymore. And my first reaction was, to be honest, it was defensive. I told myself she just didn't get it and what it takes to build a business. But deep down, I knew she was right. I was disappearing. Not just from the relationship, but I was also disappearing from myself. I was trying to scale a business while carrying, it was like a backpack full of bricks. I had responsibilities, I had expectations and big expectations of myself. I had a lot of proving to do. I'd left corporate and I wanted to prove to my former bosses that I could do this. I wanted to prove to the world. I wanted to have my parents be proud of me. I had a lot of perfectionism I was carrying around and a lot of overthinking every single day. And I was wondering why I was exhausted all the time. And that email cracked something open. It made me realize how much I had normalized feeling heavy and feeling maxed out. I started my business to get away from the stress of corporate and to get away from the pace that I used to run. And somehow I recreated it in a shinier package. I was burnt out. I had severe anxiety, especially in those kind of 4 to 7 a.m. hours when I would wake and I just couldn't get back to sleep. And I was missing out on the life that I truly wanted. And it wasn't just my sister's relationship I was losing along the way. I can still feel the friendships I lost as well. I justified the distance. I told myself that was just what you had to do to build something from the ground up. But in hindsight, I know how much I was sacrificing. And I know now, isn't hindsight a beautiful thing? But it didn't have to be that way. So I made a really hard call at the time. My husband and I decided that it was time for me to shut the business down. The dream had been there for years, and I'd been building it for about 3 or 4 years. But it was the only way I was going to be able to pivot. I had the birth of my 3rd son, and I knew something had to give. It felt like a massive loss, but also a breath of fresh air that I hadn't taken in years. I needed space to remember who I was, and I needed to go find a better way forward. So once I had that space, I got real with myself. I went back to my values. I thought about the next season of my life and what business actually looked like. I knew that I wanted to do something again. I knew it had to be different, but I knew that I had that ambitious bone in my body, that I still had big dreams and that those weren't going anywhere. I gave myself so much space to figure out what they were going to look like, and especially what success was going to mean to me. And I didn't want it to be the version that I was sold online. And this season of rebuilding was deeply personal. I devoured books. One of the books that I still have and I still refer to that was really pivotal, and actually she's been on my podcast before, was by Kate Northrup, and it's called Do Less. That book helped me understand the value of cyclical productivity, the power of rest, the difference between true productivity and performative overworking. And it gave me the language for what my body and my intuition already knew and already felt. And that was the more effort doesn't always equal more results. Now, Kate's philosophy around energy management and aligning with your natural rhythms gave me so much permission to trust myself again and to listen to myself again. And her work continues to impact my processes and my rituals and my practices that I have as a part of I call it my energetic expansion practices, so that I align my strategies. And I love strategy, but with so much heart and intuition and the power of seasons and cyclical living. And at the same time, I dove into research around sustainable business models and founder burnout. And I just dove into why this was happening to so many people. One piece from the Stanford Graduate School of Business, and I found particularly interesting, found that 50% of entrepreneurs experience burnout. That is a huge number. And I think that it's probably even more than that. And that those who scale with no personal sustainability plans are the most vulnerable. A personal sustainability plan. Now imagine if every entrepreneur had to have one of these. That hit home for me. And one of the most transformative moments was hiring my very first business mentor back in 2019. It was a big, stretchy investment at the time, but she gave me so much clarity. She helped me reconnect with my vision and mirrored back the version of me I had completely lost and forgotten. That was the person who was clear, who was confident, and who was so capable, and whose dreams were worthy of pursuing. It was during this season that I started asking new questions, and the big one was this: what if growing and scaling a business didn't mean adding more, but actually choosing better? And that question became the beginning of what is now the Scale Smarter framework. It's not just a business method, it's a way of being. And it's the reason I now run a multi-six-figure business with white space in my calendar, with creative energy in my body, and actual joy in my life. Now, the framework itself has 3 core pillars, and I want to take you through this because it is really important to understand the framework so that you can walk away and see how you could potentially utilize this in your own business and life. These are the shifts that I made and the ones I now guide women through inside my challenge, my new program called the Scale Smarter Accelerator, and my private mentorship, which I love working with women inside. The first component to the framework is all around simplified strategic scaling. So this is where we zoom out. I love to take a real 50-foot view of your business and anyone's business. We look at the full business ecosystem, your offers, your products, your services, your pricing, how you're delivering your programs or your services or your offers, and we audit it with a scalable lens. We ask ourselves, what is truly scalable? What is creating unnecessary complexity? If anything about living in France has taught me, it is about simplifying and the beauty of simplifying things and how overly complex we make things at times. The third thing is what needs to be let go of in order to create capacity. So there is both capacity from a strategic point of view and there is energetic capacity. And what happens when you start letting things go strategically is that you allow yourself to optimize fewer things and really double down on what's working and moving the dial in your business. When you create capacity energetically, the results that you start to get in your strategy start to teach your body and start to teach your nervous system and your mind about what's possible and about the fact that you can earn more money doing this and you can earn more money by doing less. And this is something that takes a learned experience. You have to learn how to increase your energetic capacity. It doesn't just happen overnight. Women are often just told when they're scaling a business, just hire extra people or hire a VA or just launch another offer. But without zooming out and simplifying strategically, you're just adding more noise. When one client came into my one-on-one mentorship with 5 offers, all bringing in revenue, she was absolutely drowning. We spent a couple of months to unravel everything because it does come at a cost and there is risk and there is that assessment, so we can do so a little bit more slowly. We simplified her suite down to 2 signature offers. We streamlined her delivery, and within 4 months, she'd increased her revenue and finally was taking some days off for herself. Now, the second component of the framework is all around sustainable scaling for the long term. This is about building a business you can live with, not just one that looks good for Instagram or that looks good on a website. Here is where we design for longevity. We build your support systems, and that's different for every single woman's business. We look at things like team or tech, things even like your own personal rituals. We do look at some of the energetic components that are going to be really important to increase that capacity. And we also create structures that protect your time and energy and your actual bandwidth. This is where a lot of women experience their biggest breakthroughs, because we start to ask for the help and get the help that we need. And we start doing less and increasing the output of what you're doing. One of my clients told me, I really didn't realize how unsafe it felt to grow until I created a system that supported me. Now, I am not always a huge advocate of having huge teams. I don't love managing huge teams. So I am really big on lean, mean teams. But the right people and having the right partners and collaborators in your team is absolutely essential. And this is something that we do inside this second component. There is plenty of research behind this as well. There are studies from McKinsey and the Harvard Business Review that consistently show that businesses built around your founder's actual energy, your energy and your capacity outperform those that rely solely on hustle. And the founder becomes more creative. When you step away and you give yourself space, you actually can vision more. There's so much more time to be able to actually think about, if I'm already at this level, what's the next level look like? You also have the ability to be more creative, to be more strategic, and a whole lot less reactive. Now, the third component is all about stepping into your new CEO identity. And this is where the identity shift really happens. Because the truth is, what got you to 6 figures is likely not going to get you to multi-6 or 7 figures. And it's here where we start to rewire your relationship with visibility, with leadership, and your self-trust. A lot of the women that come into my world were corporate high flyers, were big corporate powerhouses, and had a lot of responsibility and power and ambition. And when they left corporate, they came out flying. And then slowly over the years, during the building of their businesses and their entrepreneurial journey, slowly that gets chipped away. And in this component of the framework, we really work on rewiring that ambitious soul and getting you your spark back, helping you step really back into that powerful woman that you used to be before motherhood, before burnout, and before that self-doubt dulled your light. Really positioning yourself as a thought leader, as a legacy builder, as the CEO of her company. Now, it doesn't have to be a personal brand. This can be about a company. But positioning you as the expert in your space is absolutely key in helping you step into that CEO mode. I have watched women go from behind the scenes doers to being known for their work. They start speaking on stages. They start hosting programs with so much more confidence. And importantly, feeling powerful and in their bodies again. And a big part of this is learning how to let go of outdated models and strategies, old stories and habits and patterns. We become these 40 plus, almost 50 plus year old women with a lot of conditioning that happens over the years. So understanding a little bit of that is also really helpful to help you rewire those stories. Now, this work can be absolutely groundbreaking and sometimes confronting. But when you do it with a mentor by your side and when you do it alongside someone who can absolutely guide you through, it is absolutely freeing. Scaling doesn't have to cost you everything. There is a smarter, more life-giving way to grow. You don't have to keep carrying the whole bag of bricks and trying to run a marathon with a bag of bricks. It's time to set that bag down and take some of those bricks out and free up your space, not just in your business, but also in your life. Now, the opportunity to be able to come and learn more about this is threefold. So if this is landing for you, I want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. Not being alone in business and in entrepreneurship is absolutely game-changing. And you'll hear it so much in the world of coaching, but it's because it's true. When you try to go at it alone, it's really difficult and it's like pushing a boulder uphill. And there are 3 simple ways to come and work with me. The first one is the Scale Smarter Challenge. This is a 2-day immersion where I teach this framework in depth. It is a perfect starting point. It is $27. You can either come in as a general admission or a VIP with VIP coaching. And I run this every single month. So you can find the link to this either inside my bio, depending on where you're listening to this, in the show notes, or if you're watching it on YouTube. I also have a Scale Smarter Accelerator, which is an 8-week deep dive to implement the full framework with 4 months of mentorship and strategic support that comes afterwards. This is for women who are ready to scale without the sacrifice. And the last thing is that periodically I do have private mentorship spots that come available. And so if you are craving a more kind of fast-tracked, intimate container with hands-on support with me personally, like I said, I occasionally have spots come up. So you can get in touch with me as a DM. You can book a call. I always take calls with people because sometimes if there's not a spot immediately, there might be one next month or the month after that. But for the mentorship spots, it's really about a fit for you and I, and just seeing whether or not this is something that I can help you with. And I will tell you if I can't help you in your business and maybe suggest even other places that you can find guidance, assistance, and coaching. But if there is a fit both strategically as well as energetically, then we can always lock in a space for you inside my private mentorship. So I hope that this has helped open your eyes to see that there really is a different way of scaling your business, especially if you are really feeling at capacity. As women, we carry so much of the household load, the mental load, the admin load, the kids load, logistics, not to mention running these big, beautiful businesses. And so having a system and a structure and a way of doing this that is like a great big hug, but also a great big kick up the bum to help push you along and help guide you to your next level is what this is all about. So I really hope that this was helpful for you, that this was inspiring, and that if there is anything that I can do for you, I've told you where to get in touch with me. All the information you can find is in the show notes, in the YouTube description, or via the links in my bio.